Hello everyone. So Tech Info is back with another video to continue the topic related to sharing the knowledge related to AWS cloud migrations. So in this, I would like to share my knowledge as much as possible related to migration. So I am creating these videos. So this is the third video on which I am creating to share knowledge that I have gained. So far, I have covered a lot of things in the first two videos, so you can review them. So like in the first two videos, starting from initial, based on the student feedbacks, I have covered a lot of things. So if I come to the agenda of this discussion, so in these videos, I have covered understanding migration objectives in the first video. Then why do we need to comprehensively collect the inventory and discovery of the application? Now in this video, I'm going to cover assessing the application criticality and risk. So these all in the coming videos, I'll cover all these topics so that you can deep dive more into migration topics. I have seen got a lot of feedback from the students where they want to deep dive more into migrations. So previously also I have created videos related to migration. So like I have created a video related to this is video related to practicals on AWS. You can watch this video. It has a lot of practicals related to AWS, which are beneficial when you are learning AWS. So all these services will be helpful when you are working on migration projects. So once if you are not having knowledge about AWS practicals or AWS services, you can watch this video, right? So previously I created this video, which is based on AWS migration, where I explained how we can migrate the application exactly, what all tools are required, how to gather the information. So let me go to that video. So this is a video that I created. So in this video, I am explaining all these different uh, reference architectures in which like I'm explaining how to lift and shift the application from on-premises, from Microsoft Azure, from customer data center, and then migrating to AWS cloud, and from Azure also using various migration services. So in this video, I have explained all these things. Now, apart from these technical things, when you are talking about there, for example, there are two applications, right? You are lifting and shifting these applications, doing technical stuff, that's okay. But apart from this, there are a lot of things that you need to keep in mind, which is very, very important, due to which I am creating these videos, uh, which are deep dive into AWS cloud migration and migrations. And these are also really helpful, where you can get more insights. Why do we need more insights into the migration, right? Which all topics are important. So to cover those things, I am covering these topics so that students can get more insights. Why do we need to look into other topics of migration? Because lifting and shifting application is I think not very typical or difficult. Something you have to use the AWS services, gather those things, and then you can just shoot the migration, and automatically tools will run and your application will be migrated. But apart from that, before starting the migration, you have to talk to various stakeholders, where I've covered all these topics, understand the objectives, stakeholders alignment, understand the application inventory, discovery of the components that are dependent on the application, how application is communicating. So all these things I have covered in these previous videos. And why and you have to set the objectives of the migration, right, which is again very important. Set the objectives, understand why the company is looking for migration, optimizing costs. So all these things I have covered in my previous video. So you can go through those video 1 and video 2 and understand what do we need to comprehensively uh, get the application details, what all documents you can ask to customers, and what dependencies are there, readiness of the migration, what documentation you can gather to, so that based on which you can uh, design target reference architecture. Also, you have to understand when a customer is having on-premises, how to understand their hardware, software, and third-party integration. That is also again very important for application migration, right? So now today I am starting with a new topic in the agenda, which is assessing application criticality and risk, right? So when we are talking about application, you have to understand how application is critical, because when you're talking about application, it has certain business which is running on that application. On those various application, business is dependent and which is generating the revenue. So if application is running, it is generating revenue in dollars. So that makes application very critical, right? So I was talking about like when we have application, it has a certain business impact. It has a certain revenue that is being generated by the application. So there are various applications that are running in the environment, in the production environment, which business is dependent. So when we are talking about, for example, application one, application two, application three, right? So we have to understand how application is critical uh, to support the business, and how much revenue that application is generating, based on which there are other factors also based on which you can assess the business impact assessment. For example, if this application goes down for like uh, n number of hours or minutes, what will be the impact on the business? How many users will be impacted for that? How much revenue will be lost with the application? So all these things are very important, based on which you can assess how the application is critical from that perspective, right? So business impact, and then we have to decide the priority of the application. The more the critical application is critical, you have to test it before on other applications. Like for example, application 2, this is not that critical, but the migration process that you have set, you can test, you need to test that as well, right? Migration process. So based on that, you can set the priority, like we can set this application first and this at the priority 2, because once we are migrating this application, then you can migrate this application, because all the issues that you may face in the migration, then you can see foresee in all this in this application, which is not very critical. You can assess what all dependencies that may come, although you have to check which all dependencies are uh, there before the migration, but in case during migration, in case there are any certain challenges also, you can find out that on the application which is not very critical, right? So based on that, you can decide the priority of the migration. So in the order of migration, you can migrate according to the criticality of your application. Which is less critical, you can migrate that application first, later you can migrate the second. So low hanging fruits, you can migrate it first. And also based on the resources that you are having, the number of people that are working on the application, based on which you are deciding the migration, you can allocate those resources. You have to plan those resources, because for example, there is one architect that is working, five SMEs are working, and there is a project manager as well. So you have to allocate these resources for the application migration project, to ensure that all this migration project that is running, that is having certain value that is having, right? So all these things you have to keep very specifically and ensure that whole this migration plan is moving smoothly without impacting the business. That is very important, and prioritize applications accordingly. So resource allocation strategy, or allocate resource based on the application priority, right? So to ensure smooth transition and minimal disruption. So based on the criticality of the application, we have to ensure that the resources which are critical, which are supporting this application, those should be allocated with maybe more experience, or maybe uh, experienced SMEs, to ensure that there is a minimal disruption in the overall migration. All these things you can understand. If you haven't done the actual migration, you can watch my previous video in which I'm telling you how to migrate the application. So you will see that business disruption is very important. That should be kept minimal. So to ensure that all the things that are you are migrating, all the application that you are migrating, those should be those should not disrupt the business. So in case there is disruption, or you have to bring the business down, that should be very minimal, and ensure that complete migration is smooth. So all these things are very important from migration perspective. So moving forward, assessing downtime tolerance and recovery objectives, right? So when we are talking about the application, how much downtime is possible, because you are deciding the target reference architecture. In the target reference architecture, based on the downtime tolerance, based on the recovery time, based on that all these factors, you will decide the target reference architecture to ensure that whatever downtime is possible without impacting any business operations or any revenue that is application generating. You have to ensure that target reference architecture should be created according to that. All the servers, all the network components, to ensure they are running in HA. Then you have to plan the DR site also. If RT is very less, then you have to plan DR site also. So you can so do you see understand these things also very important while designing the target reference architecture, which is very important to understand these concepts. So talk to various people, the application owners, app owners, architects, application architect, right? Understand the overall impact of the application, how application is working. What is the possible RTO for this application? In case there is a disaster, in how much time you want this application to be back. So from that perspective, you have to decide various strategies in the target reference architecture, DR, the backup things, and the testing of the DR. So all these things, right? So based on which you can strategy design importance, use downtime tolerance and RTO. So all these factors are very important, based on which you have to design the target reference architecture. Because based on, since it is, I was explaining you in the previous slide that certain application is dependent, business is dependent on the application. It cannot tolerate downtimes because it has certain business that is dependent on it. So you have to understand very carefully. Now, how to, so these topics are very easy to say, but we will discuss in the coming videos what question you can ask in assessing these things. We will go into depth into that. What questions can be asked for RTO, RPO things? There is another term which is called RPO, recovery point objective, which helps in deciding the DR. Now again, DR is also having a lot of things, hot stand, hot DR. Then we have warm DR. So all these things are also will come into picture, and we will discuss. So you can see at this point I'm talking about very high level, but ensuring that these things are very important. You need to talk with application owners to understand the things, understand the RTO, based on which you will decide the design, strategy design that will help you to understand the main uh, main side and then the DR side, based on which you can decide. And on the top of that, all these are having certain value, cost will be there, right? Which we have decided previously with the management that in this particular cost we are going to do that. Now we cannot run out of cost, right? We cannot go about on the top of certain budget that is allocated. So we have to take care about the costing as well, so that we should not run out of budget, and what budget is decided by the management, that should be kept in mind. So these are very, very important. On the top of that, cost optimization, each and everything is very, very important from migration strategy perspective. So I hope you understand how we are assessing the application criticality, how business impact the applications are having, and how much downtime business can accept, and based on which, how based on these inputs, how target reference architecture will be impacted, and on the top of that we have to ensure that it is cost optimized. Now, then comes the security and regulatory needs of the application. Every application is having certain data that is running on that. It has data which gets feed into the application, and data is very important, due to which we have to get the compliance, security, regulatory needs, right? So we have to understand to ensure that whatever data is there in the application, where the application is running, what all compliance requirements are there, whether PCI DSS, if application is handling some payment card data, HIPAA, health records, or maybe SOX compliance. So all these things we have to ensure that we have to identify in discussion with the CISO of the application. So I was talking about, you have to, in the initial slide, you have to identify the what all the stakeholders are required. So CISO is very important. That will come into picture at these points to discuss. We have decided how critical is the application, based on which we are deciding the target reference architecture. But the target architecture that we are deciding, it should be secure, it should be compliant, it should have some security standards which are implemented on the what security services we are going to use on the cloud. So all these things will be discussed as per the inputs from DC. So you can ask like documents, like you can ask for the security policy of the company, what all policies are there to ensure data policy for the company. So you have to ensure that all the compliance requirements that are there in the, that should be compliant to the architecture. So identify relevant compliance standards that are applicable to application, to ensure that we have legal and regulatory adherence. So very important, you can have a discussion with the CISO and understand the application requirements. Then based on which we are going to implement robust security measures to protect the sensitive data throughout the migration and operation phase. During migration also, for example, we are going to pick up the data from data center to the cloud. This is DC, this is cloud. During migration also, the data that we are migrating, it should be secure also during migration also. So you can understand, we have to take care about the security during migration, and after migration, when all the data is migrated, how we are going to ensure overall security of the data that is migrated uh, to the data center. So you can understand all these different aspects that are very, very important, uh, where we are talking about various things, and security requirements, Once this is done, you understand the security requirements. Then comes the governance and oversight. You have to ensure that the governance framework that we understood from CISO, that should be in place over the cloud also. Monitoring, compliance, and security policies are properly implemented. Then you have to talk about the vulnerability management solutions that can be included. Penetration testing, security policy testing, whatever we are applying on the environment, that should be compliant. So all these things, so we have to take care about the GRC also. All we have to understand what governance is required, what risks are there, how compliance we are meeting. So all these things we have to ensure that, and we are sending regularly updates to the CISO, right? So this is very important. Security is a vast topic, and this is again a very starting of this. So once you are understanding these things, then one is the security during migration, right? During migration, after migration, then application moves into operations, right? So during operation, we have to ensure that every compliance in their place. We have to enable security monitoring as well. Monitoring. Then we have to generate reports, right? The compliance reports, whether whatever standards we have implemented are the environment that we have created is compliant. So all those reports will be shared, which will ensure that overall overall security posture of the applications of the organization is intact. So you understand how things are going to work. You have to understand the security controls, compliance regulatory requirements, standards, solutions that you are going to put, and governance based on which you are going to decide the target reference architecture, ensuring monitoring in place, ensuring logging in place, ensuring tools that can generate reports to be sent to CISO for proper assessment, right? So all these things you have to ensure that all the security solutions, like you are going to implement WAF, you are going to implement DDoS security. So based on the understanding requirements, you have to implement all these things, right? So again, the more the security, the more the cost will be there. More the cost will be there because application is critical, which is supporting the business. So we have to ensure that all the controls are in place, which is having certain cost that is incurred in the on the application, because application is very important, because business is dependent on the application. You can understand how we are correlating, how security controls are implemented, the target reference architecture that we are designing, how is getting changed, and it has a certain reason behind that. So you can understand how deeply we have to deep dive into more and more things to ensure that what we are migrating, what money we are spending, and how we are justifying that, which is very, very important, right? So I'll cover more into details what questions can be asked from compliance requirement perspective to CISO, what security solutions, how they are placed. Each and everything will be discussed in detail. I hope that will help you to get more insights during migration, how we are going to design the target reference architecture, based on which you are going to create a robust security in place, right? So this will all help you to understand that. So from all perspectives, whether it is network, whether it is compute, database, storage, security, you have to talk about each and everything. I hope I'm not making these videos quite lengthy, so I'm creating small and videos. So in the next video, I'll cover evaluating current architecture and performance, based on which I'll talk about how you can evaluate the existing documents that you have gathered from the customer, how to evaluate that, what things you have to see in that, and how to assess the application performance. Again, these inputs are very, very important uh, from that perspective. So in this video, I have covered a lot of things I have covered in this video. The understanding the application criticality, how to prioritize, what business impact are on the application, and how to understand downtime tolerance, RTO, RPO factors based on which you can design the target reference architecture, the main side, DR side you have to decide. So all these things, right? And then comes on the top of that, the security requirements of the application. So I hope this video will help you to get more insights into the application migration perspectives. And also you can, if you're not sure about the AWS services, you can refer to the videos that I have referred in the starting of this video. And if you are aware about the AWS services, you can hit on to the practical application migration videos that is also there. Next step is that to deep dive into these concepts, what all aspects have to be kept in mind to understand the application migration, right? I hope this will help you to understand the application migration concepts a bit more in depth. Again, these are high level. I'll cover more in depth in the coming videos. Thank you so much.